Welcome. Today we're going to be discussing the technique sort of destruction, its execution, some of the problems that can arise in its execution, and how to correct or fix those problems. So let's start out with the ideal phase of this technique. It's off of a left roundhouse punch. Notice the term roundhouse. There are two terms that you can do with a circular punch and from this direction. One would be a roundhouse. A roundhouse pushes away, and if I'm much closer to this person, that would be a pull. So if you look at the circle, a roundhouse punch occurs before the apex of the circle. Apex means furthest point of the circle, and a hook occurs after that apex of the circle. So what we're dealing with is a roundhouse punch because we're dealing with an open environment and we step back in order to get away from that punch. We could just as easily step forward and close, but in this case we're dealing with the open environment and stepping away. So as the person begins to punch, the first thing I need to worry about is what I'm doing. If you notice what I just did, I stepped my body away, but I didn't step my face away. That's what's called jet lagging. There's a problem with that. The problem with that is his target is my face, and I'm moving my body out of the way without moving my face out of the way. That's a problem because I'm leaving my target for him to hit. So how do I solve that problem? The way I solve that problem is to pretend I have a stick down my back that stays vertical the entire time. So as I step, I set back, and I keep myself in a vertical orientation the entire time. I don't lean forward and then draw back, which is jet lagging. So now that we've established what we're doing with our base, let's talk about this block. As the block comes in, I want to do this right extended outward block. Let's talk about a couple of problems that can go wrong here. First and foremost, let's talk about the direction of this block. This block should be kept vertical at all times, not at a diagonal and not horizontal. This doesn't make any sense to be horizontal, but I'm doing this to demonstrate a point. There is zero margin for error at this point. I could possibly block on block and get it. But as I begin to bring it more vertical, you'll see that there's more and more margin for error until I get to a total vertical, which is the maximum margin for error. And that's what we want, is maximum margin for error. The next thing that we have to worry about is the line in which we're doing this block. Like a lot of our inward blocks, they tend to go at a 45 degree. This does not. It goes on the 3-9 line. The reason why that is we don't need to beat the action by meeting the action in this case, but we do it by coming on the roundhouse because it's circular rather than linear. And if I try and meet the action on the 45, I will end up blocking above his elbow, which I don't want to do because the general rule is when you're on the inside of the arm, you want to block at or below the elbow. And on the outside of the arm, you want to block at or above the elbow. So in this case, we want to be on this part of the arm. So as he throws the punch, keep it vertical, make sure you get it on the 3-9 line and not on the 137-30 line. And the final thing that we want to discuss is what's happening, how far out I'm blocking, in other words, how far I'm going on my outer rim. If he is going to be faking me and doesn't punch the entire way and I try and meet his punch, this is what's going to happen. I try and go out and meet his punch. Notice I'm coming out of my outer rim. I'm exposing my center line, and I'm ready for his two backup weapons, which is what he wanted. He suckered me in, exposing myself. So to solve that problem, what I want to do is I'm going to stay with inside my outer rim. If you remember what your outer rim looks like, it starts from the top of your eyebrows to your groin and from shoulder to shoulder. So when you do your extended outward block, keep it so that the inside of your hand is in line with the outside of your shoulder. You don't want to go beyond that point. That's needless, and it's breaking the principle of economy of motion. So step back, get the block. Notice how I stayed right where I'm supposed to be, no matter whether he punched or not. Okay? So the third thing that I need to worry about is this left hand and what's happening with it. So what I'm doing is I'm setting back, getting the block, and then this left hand covers the middle or lower part of my body. Okay? In this case, generally what you do is just expose the palm to the opponent, and that helps give you the margin error for the hand also. Okay, so now we've discussed the first salvo. What's next? Next is the kick. The kick, if you notice, most people do a kick with 4 points. They go 1, 2, 3, 4. If you notice, in order for me to do that, what I had to do was draw my body away from the fight, get my body away, put my body back in as I set back down. That's a problem because I'm pulling my body away and bringing it back in, and there's a lot of needless motion that's going on there. In Kenpo, we like to be as economical as possible with our motion, and the way we solve that problem is by going from point of origin, the kick, and dropping it straight back down again. Notice what happened there. I didn't have to draw my body back and draw my body back in. I came from point of origin, hit, and I'm ready to go for the next motion. Okay? The definition of what drawing the foot back and out is called pumping, and you try never to pump your kick because of the fact that you're not being economical with your motion and the body weight transfers. One more time, back, kick, and then the final one is what's happening with this chop. Notice the left hand stays here in case he bends forward. I can catch the head. The one thing that you want to worry about here is whether you're going to be chopping on a horizontal or not anchoring your elbow. If he bends over like you would anticipate with a kick, and I do the chop on the horizontal, I'm going to completely miss. Just like I did with the block here on the horizontal, I don't want to do the chop here on the horizontal the same way. In this case, what I want to use is an open-ended triangle. In an open-ended triangle, if you look at it, if we add the third line, closes the triangles. So in our case, we're going to use two of them, one for the kick and one for the chop. So what we want to try and do is anchor our elbow, which we always try and do in Kenpo, and we want to make sure that we go on the diagonal, going towards the open-ended triangle. The good thing about the open-ended triangle is I can hit him anywhere along these points and I could hurt him. For instance, I could hit him in the neck, jaw, possibly ear wouldn't hurt him as much, but open-handed could break the eardrum, and lower could break the clavicle. So we step back, get the chop, kick, no pop, and drop right into the chop. The final thing that you need to worry about is the timing. Notice what's happening. As I begin to drop my weight down, I make sure I get the chop in line with that. I don't want to separate them out. I'll give you the example of that. Step back, do the kick, I can step, and then chop. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is combine the two together. So one, kick, chop, as I deliver it. Okay? Let's walk through it one more time so that you can see it, talking through some of the things that we need to worry about. Keeping your back up straight, no jet lagging, keeping the hand vertical, don't go outside your outer rim. Make sure you go on the 3-9 line, not on the 137-30 line, locking at or below the elbow. Left hand covering. Don't pump the kick. Make sure you go from point of origin up, and make sure you drop your weight as you chop and deliver with an anchored elbow on the 45-degree into the open-ended triangle. And one more time so you can see it. 1, 2, 3, out. You want to cross out. Okay. Hope this video helps you. Thank you very much.